Most people believe the final signs will begin with wars, disasters, or global chaos. But Scripture reveals something far more unsettling. The first sign is a quiet separation happening inside the hearts of those who claim to follow Christ. In this video, I'll show you how to recognize that separation today and how to remain grounded, awake, and ready when the moment comes. Lately, you may have sensed that something feels different in the world around us. Not because of a major headline on the news, not because of politics, markets, or global events, but something deeper, hard to explain. A quiet heaviness in the air, as if the ground beneath our feet is slowly shifting. Have you ever felt that? Over the past few years, I've heard this from many people, especially those who have lived long enough to recognize patterns. They tell me, I can't quite put it into words, but something is changing, not just out there in the world, but inside people. And the more I've listened, the more I've realized they're right. There are some who seem to be drawn closer to God than ever before. They feel a new hunger for Scripture, a deeper desire to pray, a growing discomfort with compromise. Things that once satisfied them no longer do. There's a quiet thirst inside them, not for success or comfort, but for truth. At the very same time, others are drifting in the opposite direction, not because they openly reject God, not because they claim to have lost their faith, but because their love is slowly growing cold. They still live their lives. They may still attend church. They may still call themselves believers. Yet their spiritual attention fades little by little. Prayer becomes shallow. Scripture is drowned out by the noise of modern life. And the most troubling part is this: many don't even realize it's happening. I once sat across from a retired pastor, a man who had served faithfully for decades. He looked at me and said something I've never forgotten. He said, "We've always imagined the last days would arrive with thunder and lightning, but I think they begin with silence inside the human heart." That, I believe, is exactly what Jesus warned us about. When he spoke of the end of the age, he didn't begin with wars, earthquakes, or disasters. His very first warning was about deception. And what's striking is this: he wasn't warning the world. He was warning his disciples, those who followed him, those who believed they were standing on solid ground. Because the first battle of the last days is not fought on the world stage. It's fought in the human heart. If you'd like, I can also... When people talk about the last days, there's a question I hear over and over again. It feels harder to pray lately. Is that just me? Let me say this clearly and honestly. No, you are not alone. And no, it does not mean your faith is weaker. Scripture tells us that as we draw closer to the end, prayer itself will become more difficult. Not only because of what's happening around us, but because of a quiet pressure weighing on the human mind and heart. Have you noticed how different life feels now? There was a time when life moved more slowly. People had space to sit still, to reflect, to listen. Today, the world never stops talking. Screens never stop glowing. Notifications never stop interrupting. And in all that noise, the voice of God becomes easier to drown out. I once spoke with a woman in her early 60s. She told me she still sits down to pray every evening, but her mind keeps wandering. She blamed herself. She wondered if God had grown distant. I told her, God hasn't moved away from you. The world has simply learned how to crowd him out. And that's exactly what's happening to many people right now. Jesus warned that because lawlessness would increase, the love of many would grow cold. He didn't say people would stop believing. He didn't say they would openly reject faith. He said love would grow cold. That kind of coldness is dangerous because it doesn't shock you. It doesn't alarm you. It slowly becomes normal. It's like a fire that isn't put out all at once, but slowly fades. The flame is still there, but it no longer gives much warmth. It no longer lights the way. Have you ever noticed yourself praying less than you used to? Not because you stopped believing, but because you're tired, because you're busy, because you think there will always be time tomorrow. From years of experience, I can tell you this. One of the greatest traps of the last days is delay. Many people are not deceived by obvious false teachings. They are deceived by the quiet belief that there's still plenty of time. A psychologist I once worked with said something that stayed with me. He said, "People don't change when they know what's right. They change when they believe time is running out." Scripture has been saying that all along. The day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night, unannounced, unscheduled, outside human expectations. And that's why the separation doesn't happen on the day Christ returns. By then, everything is already clear. The separation happens long before that day, through small choices repeated over time. Choosing whether to pray or not. Choosing whether to open Scripture or ignore it. Choosing whether to live by truth or adjust truth to fit comfort. I want you to picture a road. Not a wide highway with clear signs, but a narrow path. Each day you drift just a little off course, so little that you don't notice, until one day you look around and realize how far you've gone from where you meant to be. That's why Jesus said many would fall away. Not because they never heard the truth, but because they heard it and didn't hold on to it. In recent years, I've seen this separation becoming more visible. Some people are growing closer to God. They aren't loud about it. They aren't trying to prove anything, but their lives are simpler. Their spirits are steadier. Their peace is deeper. At the same time, others are finding it harder to sit quietly with God. Scripture feels too demanding. Prayer feels unnecessary. They begin searching for a version of faith that asks less of them. This isn't new. It was the same in the days of Noah. People were eating, drinking, marrying, carrying on with life as usual. No panic, no urgency. And that was the danger. The rain didn't begin with a flood. It began with a few drops. But once people realized what was happening, it was too late. I'm not sharing this to frighten you. I'm sharing it because I believe that if you're still listening right now, something in you is still awake. And I want to say this as someone who has walked with many people through many seasons of life. In the last days, real faith isn't about knowing more, it's about loving more. It's not about understanding every prophecy, it's about keeping God first. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be honest. If prayer feels hard, don't quit. If your heart feels dry, don't pretend. Bring it all to God. He is not threatened by your weakness, because in these days, the separation is already happening, quietly, invisibly, but very real. And the question isn't where the world is headed. The question is where you and I are headed. Before we close, I want you to pause for just a moment. There's no rush, no need to answer anyone else. Just be honest with yourself. If today, not tomorrow, not next year, but today, if today were the day Christ returned, where do you believe you would be? I don't ask that question to stir fear. I ask it because over the years, I've watched far too many people believe they had time, until they didn't. I once knew a man in his 70s. Near the end of his life, he took my hand and said something I've never forgotten. He said, "I believed in God my whole life. I just wish I had loved him more sooner." Those words stayed with me. We often think preparing for the last days means understanding the signs, tracking world events, or knowing what will happen next. But in my experience, and according to Scripture, real preparation is both simpler and far more demanding. It's a matter of the heart. Not a perfect heart, but an awake one. A heart that still responds when God speaks. A heart that still repents when it realizes it has drifted. A heart that refuses to soothe itself with the thought, "Everything is fine." Because the truth is this: the separation doesn't happen at the moment Christ returns. By then, it's already been decided. The separation is happening right now, in quiet choices, in unseen priorities, in how we spend our time, our energy, and our attention. Some are slowly leaving the world behind, even while living in it. Others are slowly leaving God behind, even while speaking His name. And the difference is not what we say, it's what we love. I want to be very clear, especially to those who have lived more than half their lives. God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for willingness. A willingness to return. A willingness to place Him above everything else. If your heart feels dry, don't despair. If prayer feels heavy, don't walk away. If you realize you've grown cold, don't hide it. Bring all of it to God. Right now. You don't need polished words. You don't need to prove anything. Just speak honestly. Tell Him you're tired. Tell Him you're afraid. Tell Him you need Him. The Bible never promised that the last days would be easy, but it never said we would face them alone. The world may grow darker, but the light has not gone out. It only needs to be rekindled. And perhaps this very moment is your invitation to do just that. When this video ends, I encourage you not to rush on to the next one. Find a quiet place, turn off the screen, sit still, and pray. Not out of fear, but out of desire. Ask God to help you live the years you have left, not in distraction, but in watchfulness. Not in delay, but in faithfulness. We don't know the day Christ will return, but we do know this: today, we still have time. And sometimes, the most important thing isn't how much we know. It's whether we are still willing to respond when God calls. If something stirred in your heart as you listened, don't ignore it. That isn't coincidence. It may be an invitation to stay awake, an invitation to return, an invitation to love God with your whole heart while there is still time. Thank you for taking the time to listen. And if these words spoke to you, hold them close, pray over them, and live them out, one day at a time.